getting a better seed is really important for these guys. And of course, we are in a champion select, though. Zion Spartan's issues have been fixed, and the Kennen dropped away from Chris first off.
All right, yeah, let's jump in and see how Velocity decide to deal with Zion, because that's been the main story of this Coast team. And the Z ban is actually a dual-purpose ban, because that's one of Shifter's main champions as well. So it takes out one of the options for both of their carries.
So here we go. Next one up. I still expect the Riven ban to come through unless Chris thinks he can beat him heads up. Zion and Chris have done battle before this split. They've been close battles. Twisted Fate dropped away from Echo, another favorite champion there. Elise away from Nintendo. These are just the normal target bans that you tend to see.
Yeah.
But Shen and Riven are both up right now.
Taking that away from Nintendo brings up the Jarvan stat in my mind, where he is the most predictable player, you could say, of the NALCS, because he has picked Jarvan more times than any other player has picked a single champion. So he goes back to that champion over and over and over again, even though they haven't had the greatest win percentage with it.
And there's the Jace and the Riven bans coming out there. I'm surprised actually Velocity waited so long to ban Riven when you had to expect it coming out here, but give it up. So the Shen is open, what Zion Spartan ran last time. A couple of different options up for these guys. And yeah, we'll see what the first pick ends up being. They're definitely discussing this one long and hard.
Yeah. And Coast usually run either a pick comp or a split pushing composition. They don't normally run the big team fighting combo, dragon-oriented team compositions that we see from some of the older teams here. They pretty much stay away from that and go more towards dueling or more towards split pushing. Which
is interesting because when I think back to the Cloud9 win against Velocity, where Velocity got the early game lead and then lost at Dragon, that tended to be VES Kryptonite, is good mid-game team fighting teams. So it's interesting to see which styles tend to work better against these guys. And Velocity, they're opening up with the pick comp here. They're going Ahri and Jarvan, stealing away the predictable Nintendo pick, stealing away the Ahri, one of the big assassins for Shifter, as well as banning away Zed. So Velocity's done some good research here.
That is definitely a double whammy here. Very good early pick ban phase here from Velocity. The only thing that they already did give up was that Shen, and so it does open the opportunity for one of the other champions that Zion's been successful on. So Coast are still feeling pretty good about this one, and they have the ability to have that extra threat in the late game and the extra chance of turning those 4 vs 5 team fights into 5 vs 5 team fights. I love that. Yes, okay, so they just locked in Evelynn. That opens up one of the most exciting combinations, which is Invisible Evelynn coming in, which is one of the only ways to make Shen actually sneaky. I know Doe and Monte Cristo always love talking about how obvious of a ninja Shen is. If you combo him with Evelynn, it gets a little more ninja-like.
Becomes a subtle ninja, and they both match. They're both blue. It's so nice. But Echo, again, you're not picking Anivia. You already have Ahri. Echo, you're just lying to me.
That's his placeholder, his go-to.
I don't like it because it's a non-obvious placeholder. It's not like it's like Heimerdinger or Teemo, where no one's picked him in competitive in a long time. It's like, oh yeah, Anivia, yeah, people totally picked that champion. Hecko, would you stop that crap? So, gonna look for his own champion though. Maple Street back on Varus here playing. I find it interesting actually about the Varus because that tends to be like one of the go-to champions for, I don't normally get a lot of farm as the AD carry, so I have utility. But he's happily saying, no, I get a lot of farm and I'm Varus. I have utility and damage.
And coupled with Zyra.
Yeah.
Talk about utility. This combination right here has so much lockdown potential that they're going to enable that Ahri to skirt the sides of this team fight. And so if Evelynn does come in, she always likes to come in from a side position and flank as well. But if she gets seen out early, then it will be easy for Velocity to actually lock that one up. And they have plenty of disengage to be able to keep her down.
See if they can do it then. Right now, the last couple of picks coming in here for Team Coast. They put in Don't Mash Me on Vayne, and ooh, they grab a Karthus in here for Shifter. Not a champion we see on him a lot, but a lot of team fight power now for the Coast lineup.
So basically the plan is for Shifter on Karthus to spearhead this operation, get everybody's attention, just lay down some area of effect damage while they open up the sides for Evelynn to come in and get behind Maple Street, because Maple Street has been one of the ones to carry this Velocity team consistently. He's one of the only ones. So if they are able to take him out from the back with that Shen Evelynn combo, then it's really going to open up the rest of the battlefield here. Even if Shifter goes down early as Karthus, he'll still be able to control a zone of the battlefield with his Defile and his passive, and allow Don't Mash Me to tumble in and out of the opponents.
We'll see if Don't Mash Me can tumble in and out of the Rumble ultimate, though, as the last champion has come through. Velocity with an interesting mix of team fight power, lockdown, and assassination with Echo going in there. So a couple of different advantages here for the Velocity lineup. Double AP, a lot of range, good amount of lockdown.
Yeah, both of these teams have pretty good answers, actually, for the first Dragon fight. I feel like there's going to be a lot of anticipation for that first Dragon fight, because as soon as you have both Rumble and Shen hit level 6, then there's two different sort of opportunities there. Coast are going to try and stall it out so that Shen can get an advantage split pushing, whereas Velocity with Chris in that Rumble are going to try and pin them down at the Dragon.
See if they can do it then. The Dragon, maybe you trade for a turret. We'll see what these guys end up doing. Velocity, remember, they're sitting at 4-17. They're in 8th. They are mathematically possible to come through and make it into the playoffs. They've got to make a really, really good run here. Coast, they sit at 9-12. They're tied for 5th. They can get a win here. They're in sole control of 5th and very close to actually knocking down CLG. I actually want to say they'd be tied with CLG if they win this game. I feel like going, it'd be close at the very least. I'm trying to think about it, and I feel like they get like right there. So Coast, pretty close to hitting the top of the standings. They can make this game happen.
And you have to remember, too, with Velocity, they don't have Vile Rose anymore. So the reason they had Vile Rose is because he was a very outspoken shot caller, and he was very loud, and he could focus this Velocity team. So they can make those late-game team decisions, which are very important when you're dealing with a Shen and a split pushing and deciding which objective to go for. So we'll have to see if they do get to the late game again. It feels like it's going to be even more difficult for Velocity than usual because they won't have that loud voice.
We'll see if they can get the pipes they need then. Here we go. Velocity spawning in the top right. The red team trying to get their late split hopes alive and make it all happen. Team Coast, though, in blue. They've already won a game today. They're looking to make that 2 and 3 in a row overall across the weeks. And Cake with a flag down. Velocity going in hard for some early wards.
They definitely want to just bully their way in this one. And they do put down a ward on the back here.
And they get some vision there. Zion Spartan on Shen, walking in toward Velocity. He's not learned an ability just yet. Slowed down by Chris. Daydream with the hook. Oh, he leads it too far and doesn't quite catch on to Chris here. So nothing quite picked out there. Velocity, though, back on defense in their jungle as Coast still move forward.
And Velocity's level 1 completely relies on that grasping root. So you can see as soon as Zyra blew the cooldown on it, they had to split and just run for the hills because they are relying 100% on that grasping roots to lock down the level 1.
And so Coast, though, have made their way in, put a couple of wards down in the opposing jungle. They'll know some of the blue side moves by Velocity. Nintendude lurking in the shadows, invisible. Yet Echo does not spot him, but Nintendude sees Echo. So a little bit of knowledge there. Hey, the mid laner's going mid.
So Velocity really lost out quite heavily in this level 1. They got no vision wards down.
And Chris gets caught out right here. A lot of damage coming off the Ignite as well. Chris going to have to flash the wall to get out of this one. Trading Ignite for Flash. Daydreamin' not going to enjoy 5 free ability power. And they've got control. Sorry, I should say Coast has control over the red buff if they want it.
They are going to take it too. They do want it. And the only decision now will be if they clear the whole thing out to get the extra experience and as well get the timer for that to return to it. So it looks like Nintendo will want to get the timer on that red, and we'll have to see around 7 minutes, 10 seconds if they return for a repeat steal.
And Velocity are actually able to steal away the red buff.
Oh,
NK8 walks right into Zion Spartan. Taunt comes off. He's still got to run. Has to burn his own flash. So look at that. The level 1s became identical for these guys. Both top laners using their flash. Both red buffs being stolen.
Yeah, both top laners making the same mistake there. And both of them are going to be late to lane. But since Chris sort of had his interaction early before the minions came, he actually has an advantage. Even though he made the first mistake, minions were not spawned yet, so he got back to that turret.
And now Nintendude wants to get back to the turret as well. Chris still level 1, zoned out from XP and gold. NK Inc. clears his jungle. Looks like the same, of course, that already happened for Nintendude, but they might go for a turret dive here. The third waves are arriving, and we could have the push soon.
Nintendude looks like he wants to go for a dive here. It's very, very dangerous, though, so they might want to just go with the zone Chris off of his turret if they don't land a death sentence. Because we've seen so many early failed 3v1 dives here, that they could lose a lot of control.
And there's Zion. Oh my gosh, dodges the knockup from NK Inc. Puts Ignite down as well, taking a lot of pain right there. The plant helping knock him lower. Zion should be surviving under the turret though. Evaniscus died to the turret because his plant kept hitting Zion Spartan. Oh my gosh.
Talk about the failed dives here. You lose control of the map when you do tank the turret for too long right there. Now Zion actually makes a choice this time to stick around and try and make the best of this situation. And he's not under too much threat here.
He's actually okay. NK Inc. waited around on the side that was going to proxy the minion wave. This turret is taking a lot of punishment, but the first turret has gone down already. However, with Zion getting XP, he is ahead of Chris right here. And Zion, he's actually keeping his turret afloat right here. Not even taking too much poke.
And they've actually made the decision to keep their 3 members up pushing top. So they're trying to go get a second turret.
Yeah, Chris level 1 has Evaniscus though on the side to defend him. This might just be enough wave clear. Mashby gets rooted up in turret range, but doesn't attack back.
Now Ari's gone back to base from the mid lane, so we'll have to see if Coast actually make the adaptation and pull back while there's an extra person available, or if they just don't intermise all when they see Echo return.
And Coast aren't reacting to the bottom lane either. They've kept Nintendo counter jungling instead of defending the bottom lane, so Zion might lose his turret here on this wave. Maple Street put some damage into Zion, has to be afraid of this one, but with the cannon minion there, this could be a turret picked up. Zion puts turret aggro onto Maple Street, but he's kind of okay with that because the turret does go down right here. Coast on a small gold lead, but they've traded turrets, and I think Nintendo got seen going into the jungle.
And Daydreamin' up top still has 1 ward left. It is a pink ward, so he's going to have to use that around the red buff area if they want to continue having their duo lane up top, because they're very overextended right now. And Jarvan is one of the junglers that can easily punish you if you get that deep into enemy territory.
And speaking of Jarvan, NK Inc. is making its way towards the top lane. However, Coast did choose to back out, so no pickup here for NK. Unfortunate. There are only 10 minions on the guy. He's been spending a lot of time making, dives work, but not getting minion kills for himself. So not a very rich man. Nintendo getting some counter jungling is a little bit better off as far as gold is concerned, but he hasn't gotten to buy yet. He's looking for the mid lane maybe.
And it's interesting that they're switching mid lane with their AD and support, whereas Coast have actually sent them bottom now, even though the turret's already down. So they're just teaming up with Zion to push back hard on this bottom lane.
And it's forcing NK Inc. as well as Maple Street down to the bottom half right here. Looks like Coast are happy to be sort of stacked up near the dragon side, near the bottom. However, they're letting Chris get free farm. They're letting him push up towards that top turret. It's forcing Zion Spartan back right here. Didn't end up getting a ton out of his time in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Coast, they had a short power play here. Whenever you push a lane all the way to the second turret like they did top, they forced Chris to stay up there. So effectively on the rest of the map, they had a 1-man advantage, but now they've even had to have Daydreamin' blow a splash here. NK Inc. going aggressive.
And the Flay, the flash burn as well, the condemn knocking NK Inc. away, but a good flash removal there. Good stuff here by the Velocity lineup. So Mashme and Daydreamin', they're just going to go for the double golems here, catch themselves up a little bit more golden experience, and you kind of see the AD carries in pretty similar situations. Level 4, minion kills in the 40s. These guys, and they're even going to be laning against each other, so I feel like I don't know where this matchup's going to go just yet.
Yeah, Coast definitely wasting a little bit of time from that advantage that they could have rolled with the early turret and the failed level 1 dive. But Evelyn not really able to make that impact on the map that she would like to early. And instead has had to just farm up jungle camps here, which is not the optimal way to use Evelyn.
Nintendo got spotted out, actually was in reveal range of Maple Street, and then the plant shot him and revealed the stealth right there. So Nintendo forced her one away from that one. Nice attempt, but not in the best shape. No good gank there. And actually you saw that NK Inc. did manage to catch up more or less in minion kills. You see 20 to 23. Nintendo going back to his own jungle saying, all right, I'll hit level 6, I'll be a good Evelyn. But look at this, attempted blue steal by NK Inc.
And we talked about the timer on the buffs for the second buff takes here. Both junglers getting their own red again, but NK making the adaptation here, using the flag for vision to make sure that it's safe to take away this blue, whereas Nintendo decides to go for the gank.
He lands the ulti onto Echo, forcing the dashes out. Nintendo's still chasing on down, but I don't know if he has the damage he needs. Does force Echo away, and if they knew, they could go for a blue steal, I think.
That gank, trading Evelyn ult for Ahri ult, just cost him his blue. So definitely a poor decision there by Nintendo. As a jungler, anytime you show yourself, you have to know you're making a big sacrifice. So you want to make a big impact with that gank. And he just wasn't there going for Ahri, who's so slippery and can get away with just using her ult, not having to burn any summoners.
So a very, very good move then coming out by NK to take the one down. And of course, good escape by Echo. The cooldown trade, as we mentioned a little while ago. So don't mash me and Daydreamin'. Still in this bottom lane, still holding close to equal as far as minion kills are concerned. And Velocity Esports, despite spending a lot of time stealing the blue, have not lost their own.
Ooh, hook onto Maple.
And this is going to be rough. Though Maple Street down below half HP. Look at the damage coming out, but the beautiful cleanser keeps him alive. But there's the Requiem. That's going to be a kill picked up there. Shifter taking that one home. Now Daydreamin' forced to run because here comes NK Inc. Not going to go for it. Zion Spartan keeping the team alive thanks to the Stand United. So that is good stuff here for Coast. They could keep pushing.
Double globals used right there to turn around the Vayne lane, but now they're going to actually have to push hard on this turret because that left Chris free up top.
And Daydream is going to fall down right there. Evidence is picking up the kill right there. Following in Edward's stead, being the carry Zyra. That is not what Coast wanted. They've given Chris a free lane. They've equalized the champion.
Yeah, Velocity did a great job right there. They were able to equalize the kills and make great use of Chris's free time up top. Whereas the extra man from Coast, which is Nintendo, keeps spending time in that mid lane and not really having much of an effect on the game. We usually talk about Evelynn having a huge effect on the early game, but his presence really hasn't been there, and neither have the wards for Team Coast. They're almost blind on this entire map here, and Velocity are really making great use of the time where Coast can't see what they're doing.
And they've timed the ultimates away as well. Zion Spartan and Shifter both without ultis here. That's going to make it an easy dragon pickup right there for Velocity. Even with NK Inc. smite down, they knew they were safe for it, so they got that suppression from the top lane turret. Nintendo went to go farm that out. He was nowhere nearby. The Dragon going their way. Velocity, now the team with the gold lead. Good moves there. BF sword picked up for Maple Street. A lot of good things going this way.
And most of it does come down to that vision. You can't wait 10 minutes into the game to start dropping those wards. The pink wards, though, for Velocity, on the other hand, they have not been cheap with their money. They've been spending it. And that's because of the Evelynn, and it's also for them some counter-warding opportunities. So it's a very good job there by Velocity.
Good stuff with these guys. Nintendo's going to actually spot Echo lurking around. Did get seen right there. That was the exclamation point. Echo knows he's lurking around in the shadows. It's going to be a 2-on-2. Turn it a 2-on-4 as the mid laner support come in. Zion Spartan gets charmed up. Echo still trying to run, gets taunted. Nintendo is going to show up for this one. Does land a couple of hate spikes. Does not ulti for this one. Does not want to burn that. Does know that Echo could have escaped. But Coast now have a bit of a lead on the map. Echo forced to recall. They could push.
Coast definitely are going to make a move in middle here. They just burned NK's flash. So they have the presence, and he also doesn't have the summoner spell to get away. So he has to be very careful about the death sentence or the taunt flashes from Zion.
And this is the pressure now onto the turret. Catch onto NK Inc. Daydream is not going to go into this one. Puts the lantern down for the quick shields. Zion forced a dash back. They don't get enough damage onto the turret here, and Chris does have equalizer. They could turn any fight around. Maple Street comes in from the side as well. Velocity's going to hold.
So now they force Velocity collapse, but they have Stand United available here on Team Coast. So Team Coast can actually start their split pushing and now make use of their globals because they've got decent wave clear as long as they can get Shifter back to this mid lane.
Looks like they're going to be able to do a good job of this one. Velocity pushing all the way down to the turret. Coast now on the defensive. Zion Spartan not yet split off to the sides, just taking wolves right now. So no split pushing actually found here for Coast. They're still sitting near the mid. No, it's actually Shift bottom side. He's going to take some farm up on Karthus and try to be a big late game threat.
I feel like Coast have had the opportunity to push advantages on this map, but have been spending quite a bit of time farming small jungle camps and haven't come out with very big rewards, as big of rewards as they could have. So right now they've sent Karthus bottom to be split pushing rather than standing Shen, which is sort of the same situation, but right here where they land that death sentence, they can't go in because Karthus can only add the Requiem, which is a little bit of damage. You can't actually show up right in the middle of that fight. So that's why they've recalled him to the mid.
And Shifter doesn't even have much ability power yet. Rod of Age is not yet completed. Tyr just sitting there stacking up as well. So I feel like their power is super weak right here. Echo getting another steal on the blue that has been denied now twice by Velocity. They're controlling the jungle. They've gotten the dragons. Really good stuff with these guys, keeping the gold lead at 500 in Velocity's favor, despite Coast getting first blood earlier on in this game.
And that is props to NK Inc. He is the one on their team keeping all the timers and making those movement calls and the rotations around the map. So great job there by the timer keeper. Oh, the Death Sentence and Charm both go out.
A lot of damage, lands a piercing arrow as well. Plants come down, trying to zone out the rest of Coast. That happens here. The red buff is up. The ward gets taken down here. Don't mash me. Has to be afraid, though. Velocity trying to hold control, but fighting a Rumble in the jungle is a bit of a difficulty.
Coast now finally, though, have the separation that they were looking for. Now what they have to do with this 4-man team is just hold the turret.
And there they go, the dive on in, the knockup. They're going to hit everybody from Coast right there, and Nintendo's going to fall right on down. There comes the equalizer. Zion Spartan, got to run away from the charm at a champion kill lead. Now up there for Velocity, and they've got pressure on the turret.
The team with Shen always seems to be getting impatient here. Velocity are going to be rewarded with a turret kill after that one, so it wasn't just a kill on Evelyn that they got from that. It was also the mid-turret objective, which is the biggest of the outer turrets to get. And it's because not only did they decide to engage and burn their Standing Knight on Shen there, but Evelyn didn't even flank from the side. She went straight into the faces of Velocity there.
Really good stuff then by these guys, finding the fight they wanted. Velocity putting the pressure on the mid lane. Velocity getting the kill, getting the catch, putting the burst down. These Zyra knockups, so good as well. Don't mash me. Grabs the red finally for himself. That'll be nice. The Shifter's still trying to power up. Finds the Rod of Ages finally, but still not level 11. Still no rank 2 Requiem. Zion Spartan in the same boat. The cooldown goes down on those globals if he could just get some levels.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's a good job by Velocity capitalizing on Coast initiation there, but I feel like the onus was on Coast to defend the turret while Shen would slowly start pushing the lane. And then they just decided to pull the trigger there.
Yeah.
With the Evelyn engaged straight up the middle.
And thing is, it was interesting because when they played against Counterlogic Gaming, they had to be the ones going in fast. He's going to go in on Chris right here. Down about half HP. No one's there to support the fight, though. This will stop, but yeah, compared to the game against CLG, Coast had to initiate fights against Counterlogic Gaming, thinking they would get outscaled. This time, you're right. They could just kind of sit around and play it a little bit later.
Well, it's that duo lane for Velocity that have so much disengage. We saw the lockdown from the Evaniscus combo into the Maple Street ultimate right there. Just does so much work. It makes it very hard for Coast to make one of those rushes straight up the middle.
And see if they can find something else. Velocity are going to look for the Dragon as their big attempt here. The Standing Knight is not up, so it's a 4-on-4. Will Coast do anything to stop this one? Pink ward is down. The poke comes across, Nintendo down below half HP. No ulti up for him either. And Coast says, you're right, we can't do much about this. They look for mid, but Velocity's going to be coming in soon.
There's the timer that you mentioned. NK Inc. still looking very good here. Able to time that one perfectly and take the Dragon immediately, and now he looks for the engage.
They dive right on Endangerment, falls down, the exhaust comes across. There is a beautiful equalizer going to make this fight unequal. 2 kills picked up. 5 versus 3, flash top from Zion Spartan. Can he find the damage on a Maple Street? Looks like he won't quite do it. Echo flashes away, Shifter goes down. Here comes the Requiem. Will it be enough? 2 kills picked up right there. Everyone else so incredibly low, but it's still a team fight win for VES.
Chris set that one up perfectly. He started roaming down 5 seconds before they decided to engage on that team fight, so he was there in range to fire up the equalizer at the same time that Zion's Standing United actually came up. So they didn't lose anything from that split pushing potential. And Velocity, amazing coordination right there. Very good call to pick that one up.
So good stuff then. Velocity continuing to get the team fights just barely that they want. I mean, that fight was very, very close. Requiem nearly claimed 2 more lives there. Couple hundred health left in those guys sort of cumulatively. And so it's now Coast fighting off a 3,000 gold deficit, looking for something to put themselves back into this one. Mashme 002, he's kept himself alive as a short-range Vayne, but is not yet turning into that hyper carry that they just might need from him.
So Don't Mash Me has to be worried about his positioning, right, too, because he has that short range. And then Nintendo at this point also has to be very worried about his positioning because he is that squishy Evelyn. He's not only did he not make much of an impact early game, but that has resulted in him not having very much beef so to speak. So you have to watch his ultimate. He gets all of his defenses basically from landing his ulti on multiple people. If Nintendo does not hit 3 or more people with his Agony's Embrace, then the shield's not going to be big enough for him to survive in the fight. And we can see him just get bursted down from the beginning right there and not make use of these offensive items that he's building.
And now getting bursted down is the blue buff that is taken by Echo right here. So 3rd blue in a row, now stolen by Velocity. That is not the best for Shift right here. He'd love to have the extra farm power. Still holding up with 159 here, but I still got to feel like he'd love the experience and gold from getting that one out. So Velocity, I guess it's kind of on them to keep making moves, because Karthus and Vayne will keep scaling. So
it is.
They've got to keep coming out ahead like this.
And they also have to, well, they have to keep picking people off here, because Coast are going to be splitting. They're the ones with the Shen, and they have decent wave clear with that Karthus, so they're the ones that are just going to be trying to catch up and farm up the minion waves, whereas Velocity are the ones with the pickup. They're trying to grab people off with Ahri, and they're the ones that usually mess up in the late game. So it's a very high-stress position that they're in right now.
And they've got some pressure now onto the mid turret as well, so good stuff. Coast actually bringing up their 2nd turret kill of the game. They're down dragons, sure, they're down kills, but at least they found this right here. But they've actually recalled Don't Mash Me into the team. They're grouping him with the rest of the roster, expecting something from Velocity, whereas Zion Spartan says, look, you get the bottom lane, you take the farm there, you'll get that 3rd outer turret for us.
So now Velocity are looking to make the move because they just finished the Leandri's Torment on Rumble. It's a huge item for Chris there. To get that percentage burn, if they can lead off the fight with an equalizer on multiple opponents, then they've got plenty of secondary lockdown to turn that one over, even if Karthus is one of the first targets and they take him out.
Zion Spartan gets interrupted. He's got to ult away from this one, but that will let him survive. Good read to say, uh-oh, I'm going to get jumped on. They've got me surrounded. He gets out, but that's a big cooldown burn. 20% cooldown from the Spirit Resist, but it's still Stand United burned.
They just lost one of their biggest cards that they had in this game, and now it's up to the Velocity to force the next fight so that they can take advantage of this.
I have a question, though, because they did burn Equalizer for it. Because of how important Chris is, it's almost like an okay trade, depending if they can't pick a fight.
Look at the cooldown on that. It's only 50 more seconds here.
Oh, that's fair.
So it is a big cooldown. You're right. Until that does come back up, then they might not want to die of a turret. But they've got plenty of disengage here.
Daydream locked up's gonna go down right away. Chris picks that up. NK Inc. locked up on the turret. Does get away from that one. Don't mash me. Can he find anyone else to chase down? Beautiful slows there by Chris's Rumble. And they get the taunt on Evaniscus. Can the team follow up? Looks like they can't just yet. Nintendo has already burned his ultimate. Can he get a range for someone else? Dodges the slow. Gets the second one from Chris right here. Flash wall comes out. They get Maple Street. The roots are dodged as well. Maple forced to flash away. Shifter taking so much damage. He goes down. Nintendo as well. The taunt on the Maple. Is it enough? Requiem comes across. Do they still have the damage though? No one falls over. 3 for nothing now. Sorry, 3 for 1 for Velocity. The low
5 seconds on Equalizer. He's going to be able to chase this one down.
Oh, don't mash me. You're about to get mashed. I'm sorry, bro, but there is the Equalizer. Goodbye. Chris picks that one up. And Daydreamin', actually, that was an ace. He was killed at the beginning of that fight.
Such good kiting from Velocity there. And Evaniscus saved his own life in the beginning by landing the Grasping Roots on 3 members of Coast just as the taunt hit him. If that had not hit all 3 members, then it would have been caught and killed.
So there we go. The turret goes down. Velocity now looking pretty good in this game. They found the fight again. They won a battle without Equalizer. They, even with Coast's turret still alive, they found exactly what they wanted, got the catch, killed up Daydreamin', and now they're playing the Oracle's game. They're playing the ward battle. And with Dragon up in 5 seconds, if they get there in time, they can push their gold lead even higher.
Yeah, so that's the explanation. That's why we call them pick comps, because you saw right there, that's where they gain all of their momentum from, was the charm onto Daydreamin' to keep him in place for that burst damage.
But it's actually Coast who responds in time and gets there on top of the Dragon. The recalls from Velocity took just a little bit too long, and some gold comes back now Coast's way. They're only 5,500 gold behind. That is plenty. 5,500, 22 minutes is a pretty big deal. But again, we talk about the ticking clock, about the fact that VES has to keep moving forward. And let's see if they can do it. They've got their ultis back. Here's their next move,
potentially. That Dragon was a result of the sort of miscoordination of Velocity and the tendency of AD carries to go immediately free farm free lanes, Maple Street showing himself up top meant that Coast were able to make the call to all just rush down that dragon.
So there we go. The coordination's still there, and that's so important for teams that are behind, I feel, to keep the coordination going, keep the moves, and still make the right calls and still do the right things here. Hopefully Coast, for their sake, can stay coordinated and still make the right calls. Zion Spartan's ulti is available, though I don't think you can fight Chris 1v1. That split push might be difficult.
It would, and we've seen him already, Zion, get caught out, so he has to be very careful with the warding and the vision control at this point, because we've seen Velocity make great use of their pick composition. And if they catch someone else off, especially if it is Don't Mash Me, who's the only source of AD on this team Coast, then they're doomed, because all that Velocity have to do is everyone build magic resistance and then focus on taking out Don't Mash Me. As soon as Don't Mash Me's down, the only damage left is magic, and they won't have a hard time winning that team fight.
And speaking of focusing on taking down Don't Mash Me, take a look at Echo, one of the biggest assets for the team. Look at his build. He rushed a Lich Bane for some extra burst damage of what he wants to catch. The pull onto Chris, but Daydream is a little bit alone.
He doesn't want that. Send it back.
Yeah, the equalizer goes off, stops Mash Me in his tracks. The ulti burned here. The rest of Coast alive enough here. Can they find a fight? Oh my god, the burst coming out. Nintendo pops his ulti. I don't know if they can win the fight though. The ult comes across. Nintendo is caught alone right here. He falls down, and Echo finds another one. Takes 2 kills. Daydream in the mix. He's going to go down as well. Shifter in the middle of the enemy team. He might have a Shen show up there, and he does have the Requiem, and that's going to get a kill. It's going to take down Echo, but VES still with a big power play there. Only Zion and Daydream alive against 4.
So Chris blowing his equalizer there, seemingly a mistake, but actually baiting Coast in. And then the overextension from Nintendo, because they wanted to go in off of Rumble's equalizer being down, actually got him to be out of position, and then they ended up being the ones paying for it. So some next level strategies there from Chris.
You've got a big enough gold lead to bait fights without a couple of cooldowns and still come ahead. You saw it right there. Chris still getting massive 137 minion kills, 5-0-4. He's doing a really, really good job this game. You know, as the sort of replacement top laner, he's holding up quite well.
He is holding up quite well, and he was the original top laner, so they've definitely had the practice with him. The one they haven't had practice with is Echo. And the Lich Bane build that you shout out, this is an Echo special right here. He loves Lich Bane on Ahri, Lich Bane plus Zanya's, because it's good at split pushing. He can get plenty of tower damage because the Lich Bane procs, and also he has good wave clear, plus he can get away. So it's sort of the poor man's split pushing TF there, because he can't join the fights, but he is a great duelist, and he is great at shoving down turrets. So it's a very interesting little Echo adaptation that they've had since they don't have that global and they don't have a traditional split pusher.
So the team is going to regroup then and say, look, we'll fight again with our ultimates available and look for a turret right here. Mash Me pushing away Chris a little bit in that lane. Chris already finishing his Zhonya's Hourglass and wearing a blue elixir. So a lot of damage there. Echo waiting in the wings, looking for someone to catch right there with a charm. Doesn't quite land, but the pressure now onto the turret. Lich Bane damage coming across. Coast grouped up, Chris waiting to flank around the side and land the equalizer.
Yeah, equalizer back up means he's itching to use it. If they're able to land first a Varus ult, then that would be the key for Velocity to go in, because they can chain the Stranglethorns on top of that, even though it does have a long time before the knockup hits. If they are able to chain it with the Varus, then it's plenty of time for it to go off.
Here we go. Pull comes out, does not land on anybody. Pressure on the ult comes off, and here comes the engage. They jump on NKing. Shifter's going to fall over fast. Nintendo drops as well. They jump on a Don't Mash Me. He's caught up, has to run back. Beautiful Zonias by Chris keeps him alive, but the re-engage might happen. There's the taunt. Shut down picked up. Zion run back. 2 for 1 so far in this fight. Still an advantage for VES. However, Shutdown Gold did go to Coast AD carry. Problem is they have health bars. Velocity can keep pushing.
So Velocity definitely want to get the objective right after this one, but then they're going to have to be careful and pull back, because Zion is looking to taunt somebody under the turret.
They found Maple Street. They find a lot of damage there, but the turret is gone, so they can't go for the taunt or the kill right there. So +1 kill, +1 turret. Velocity now up over 8,000 gold. They're playing this one right.
And Nintendo had the right idea.
Daydream, no!
Push space checking. Okay.
Yeah, that's a page from Zuna's book. That was a face-checking Winari team, and that was not the best right there for Daydream. And unfortunate for that, Coast is not allowed then to try like a comeback Baron or something. They don't have their oracles, they don't have their support.
Been talking about it all game long, the lack of vision for Coast. Problem's only gotten worse. The more ground you give up, the more it's going to be hard to get that vision back in the late game, because Velocity are going to continue to buy their pink wards for Evelynn and continually sweep out your ward coverage. So it makes it very hard for Coast to make these comeback moves. You can see they're even too scared to go for that dragon because they have no vision, and that would definitely turn out poor for them.
Yeah, I feel like Coast needs a lighthouse here to kind of get some more vision into the fog. I realize it works the other way around in the real world, but pretend I said something smart there. VES just still pushing on through. Look at the dragon going down. Last one Coast did get because of some mistimed recalls by VES. This time around, though, it's just going to be an easy pickup there. NK Inc. smiting that one down. Doesn't want to save it for Baron. Might just not be in the table for them just yet. Instead, they could keep going for the pressure. 6-2 in turrets right now. Velocity in a good way, but the blue buff finally available here for Shifter on the left-hand side, unless it gets stolen. Shifter? Yay, got blue buff. Okay.
He's got it. So that will be a small win for Team Coast right now, but because they just were too scared in this area, it opens up Velocity burning this Baron down. They've got a Leandri's Torment, so they can burn it down very quickly here.
Let's see if they go for that here. Daydream goes for the flash hook, lands on Evanescence, goes right in. They get the taunt as well. The burst comes across. Evanescence ults and then goes down. The trade on a Daydream, and both supports are dead now. And King taking some punishment. Mashmi still kiting around in this battle. Takes the Shine ult. They could engage. Mabel taking so much damage, but here comes Echo. Can he get the kill? Zion forced to run back, and King diving on through. Echo has killed off Shifter. The Requiem is not available, so this team fight is huge for VES. Everyone but Mashmi is dead right now. He is forced to recall. Ooh, if they had Requiem, though, they could have answered 2 back.
And Echo even missed his Orb of Deception when he finally did join that fight. But since he has Lichbane, he still had enough burst with the auto attack proc to finish him off. So the alternate build right there actually does come in for him. And now Velocity can actually breach the inhibitor turrets.
And it's likely to go down. It's a 4 versus 1. Don't mash me. I don't think Vayne Mechanics can be strong enough to 1v4. They got Daydream back, though, but I still think they won't take this one as defense. Inhib goes down. VES does return home, but Coast now, they've got everyone alive. Potentially, they can try to rush something down.
It'd be very dangerous, though, because we go back to the same point over and over. The vision control that they have is very lacking on the map. So anything that they overextend for can be quickly punished by Velocity.
That's true. So instead, Mashmi is going to get the free lane farm. 216 minions, has a Negatron cloak to try to survive some of that Echo Burst damage, some of the damage over time from Chris as well. Makes a lot of sense, I gotta say. And of course, Shifter also trying to scale up, has finally finished Azonia's Hourglass since the last fight. So he'll be able to dive in and survive a little bit longer in those battles. Zion Spartan has only just now gotten the Aegis. That team has been far behind. That Evelynn jungle, of course, not one to build that item. So the AoE MR just now coming in for Coast.
That is a definite trade-off when you do have an assassin jungler instead of the oh-so-common tanky brawler junglers that we've been seeing, especially in Season 3. And they're definitely feeling the effects. Not only does Nintendo have 6 deaths and 0 kills on that Evelynn, but like we said earlier, if he doesn't land a multi-man Agnes Embrace, then he just gets popped early in that fight and doesn't even add the damage that he's trying to bring.
And especially when you consider the magic pen available to this VES lineup. Echo's got Sork Shoes and Abyssal. You've got Sork Shoes and what was a Haunted Gods, now Leandri's Torment. So low MR.
Ooh, this line is dangerous for Equalizer.
They're going to go right on in. Equalizer comes across. Baron picked up as well. Here comes the dash in from Echo. He finds Shifter. Shifter going to get dropped. No, he pops Zonius. Really good disengage. Now, can Mashmi survive this one? Getting dropped down. There's the Cataclysm. 2 kills picked up. Echo pops Zonius. So does Chris. No damage coming across, really, that's meaningful at all from that Requiem. And this could be the end game push for Velocity eSports.
This Velocity composition is so good at baiting those Barons and just rushing them down even, because the line damage that they can punish you with if you come to contest a Baron is just ridiculous. So we saw it right there. There's a nice embrace, though.
There we go. The ult is there, the shield, and it just does not matter. That's a death there for Nintendo X now. 2 versus 5. VES takes 1 turret down. They're going for number 2. Zaya Spartan trying to hold the line. I just don't think he can. He's going to fall over as well. Now only Daydream is left alive. 10 seconds on Shifter. Last Nexus turret goes down. This could be the game right here. Picked up Velocity eSports, ending the day on a high note.
Congratulations to Velocity, tacking on another win here. So Coast actually split the games. They had their hopes pretty high after the first win of the day, but Velocity too saying they are not going to give up on this. They're going to scramble to stay in.
There is always that chance of the end week push. They've got one more game to play tomorrow. They've got 5 more in the last week. You never know. If you drag down Coast, if you drag down Curse or Dignitas, you can always get your way in there. And that's the start of what these guys need. You think back to Coast, and they've got to get their way back up.
They're definitely not happy with that one, because when they look ahead, they judge how hard these matches are going to be by their expectations of the teams, and that Team Coast, they expect the one versus Velocity to be the easiest one. Now that they've lost that game, the road ahead just got a lot steeper.
Exactly, and that's going to be up to them to get themselves back out there and get the wins. You know, talk it out. They've got their coach elements. They know they've got the ability to just sort of regroup themselves. You saw them make a 3-game push just in the last week and a half. Or a 6-game losing streak. Okay, we pulled it back. You know, picked up a loss here. They need to pull it back.
Definitely the fans at home, the Coast fans, are hoping for a repeat of last split, but it's looking harder and harder.
It's going to be difficult. But guys, we're going to go AFK for a moment, but please don't report us, because when we return, Velocity's Echo and NK Inc. will join us to talk about their impressive win.